Welcome to So Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan.
And a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So
this
far,
is the story So Farscape. Thank you.
I just got really excited there
Well, you wanted to go with So Farscape so good. We're right at the end already. That was shortest episode ever.
It's not... No, I did, but not because I wanted to be at the end, but just because I thought that this episode was really good.
Okay, cool.
I've been... No joke, probably a lot of fans are going to be very confused by this, that I've been looking forward to watching this episode again myself. Not just showing it to you, but just watching it myself for so long, and it did not disappoint.
I take it it's not a big fan favorite?
Oh, it's not poorly regarded by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not like one of the highlights that people talk about when they rave about the excellent second season that we're in.
Right, it's another bottle episode.
Right, but Farscape being Farscape, a bottle episode is usually, okay, we'll just put it all on the spaceship so that we don't have to build any sets, and then let's not invite any guest actors because that's nice and cheap. And so instead, what we'll do is we'll take our lead and put him in 3 different types of prosthetics.
I was wondering, I was thinking, I guess that Ben Browder must have been complaining that everybody else was getting all the cool makeup and he wanted to go as well, and therefore they decided, okay, you want it? We'll give it to you.
Yes, because we are talking about... we have synopses for these.
Yes, this is episode 210, My 3 Crichtons, in which all life is precious except apparently genetically inferior or superior clones of humanity. So the next time you go sacrifice someone to save yourself, remember you're genetically mundane.
The more you know. Thank you for that one, Wookie. Test Monkey 6K says, The Prisoner meets 2001 meets Alien Nation, where a crew member finds the past far more compelling than the future. Oh, wow.
That was a very good
That's
synopsis
a really good one.
Looking in retrospect. And Horsebird says, it's time to play the dating game. The Bachelorette is an alien orb of indeterminate origin, and you'll go wild for our 3 lovely contestant.
Oh, that's very good, Horsebird.
I like it's like how it's 3 lovely contestant and not 3 lovely contestants.
I just got that. That's brilliant. Oh, they are so good at this. Thank you again for everyone who sent this in kind of last minute. Please keep sending them in. There's a handy little link to the form on our Twitter profile. I don't think it's on the website. It's actually tricky to put things on the website. It's bit.ly/sfsynopses. But I think the capitalization matters. Ooh.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I'm not very good with this sort of
there won't be any prizes, but we do appreciate you thinking of us and sending in those lovely synopses.
Hey, and we might read them on air, as we did today. So, this is My 3 Crichtons. The fantastic, it's a bottle episode, but this being Farscape, they made it very difficult for themselves.
Well, yes.
You know, you had multiple scenes with multiple Crichtons, which is not just him in a different jacket, or is multiple hours of makeup that he has to do between each of those scenes.
I suppose there were a few stand-ins for shooting him on the back while he was in one of the costumes.
Oh, that's a good point. Getting into my trivia a little early here, this is the only episode of Farscape, or the first, not to have a guest star, but it does have one guest actor.
Oh, he's the guy they used as a stand-in for Crichton?
And that's Matthew Lenevez, or Leneve. I'm not quite sure whether that's a... Yeah. Oh, it's a French name, so probably Leneve, or however. Which is a Crichton double. And I think that this is the person that is slung over Primitive Crichton's shoulder at the end, and is therefore better credited as Ben Browder's butt double.
That makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah. So
he really loves being able to do that fireman's carry on people, doesn't he?
Yes, whenever he has to carry someone, throws them over his shoulder.
And gets them a good butt shot.
Good butt shot right up to the camera, gets it in everyone's face. I mean, yes, I'm totally there for it.
I mean, it's usually Chiana who gets slung over his shoulder and carried off.
It's happened a few times, yeah.
Yes.
But here he gets to do it to essentially himself, and I think they got a very good butt double.
It's all in the pants, I suppose.
Yes, but it's also in what's in the pants.
Well, it's all in pants.
Which Aaron has something to say. But, oh, come on, we got to just get into the episode.
Right.
Prepare to starburst!
So we have an opening shot of John and Aaron arguing about where critical components should go. Apparently his module has a few Moya components that are desperately needed on the Prowler. We get a gorgeous shot of Dargo's spike, as I like to call it.
Yeah, that's the one of the pointy bits on the Prowler. Don't get too excited. It's still a PG-13.
And they're having a bit of a good-natured argument.
It's a matter of priorities, Crichton. You know which ship is more important.
Yes, I know which one is more important to you.
Yes, the one that can actually get us out of trouble if we come under attack.
I know someone who will soon be under attack.
Yeah, there's another proximity alert as they're very close together, as they like to be.
I hadn't caught that one. That's like, but yes, a pilot has detected some sort of energy thing which is tracking them. We get some nice outside shots of Moya where the energy sphere is.
It's amazing.
Zooming in on Moya, trying to get in.
And it's so weird.
Yeah,
It's this energy blob. It looks huge, then it's small. Pilot is extremely worried, and so Crichton changes his mind. Nope, you're right.
You were right. Put it in.
Put them in there. Yeah, no. He's like, it's almost like he was having the argument only for argument's sake, like not wanting to see to her that like her ship is the more important one.
Exactly. And so he tells Aaron to put it in.
Put it in.
Well, yes.
And we'll just leave it right there. We'll just probably play that little soundbite and some other opportune moments.
Yeah, so the energy sphere like gives a rippling dimensional effect or something when it like
it's so cool.
Bumps through Moya, and this is like I think at least half a dozen Star Trek episodes start like this.
Yes,
with some sort of energy thing and invading the Enterprise.
It's another super Star Trek-y episode, isn't it?
It is.
There's lots of technobabble.
Yes, I noticed especially that the defense screen is rapidly starting to become the main deflector dish from Farscape.
It really is.
It's like, let's do it, fix it with the defense screen. But
we'll have to run it through the neural cluster and make sure that there's confetti on standby.
The sphere flies through the corridors. We get shots of various members of the crew. I noticed that Dargo was making bedroom eyes at it, rather.
Yeah.
It was like, oh.
So they all get an MTV close-up with what looks like a sort of an energy iris. It's a very low frame rate sensor contraption, as you pointed out. But man, I was so excited here. I love this music.
Oh, I didn't particularly pay attention to the music.
Oh, it's got this like Mars Attacks kind of synthesizer. Yeah. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I was delighted to be able to hear that again. Yeah, everybody gets a little close-up. Dargo seems to really enjoy his. Wow. Get yourself a man who looks at you like that.
There's a lot of gorgeous Dargo eye-roll shots in this episode anyway.
Yes.
But it ends up in Maintenance Bay 2, and it's hovering over John's head, who seems to be rather nervous about the whole experience.
Erin draws her weapon. John
does what she does best, shoots it.
John does not disapprove. I sort of expected him to maybe aim high, but shoot it. But she shoots it, and it starts to expand. And instead of running away, John
he just stands there,
falls to his knees, and like does a lambada underneath it. John,
he does the standing in the
forbidden dance,
standing in the field, getting sucked up by the light beam coming out of the flying saucer thing. Except in this case, the light beam is descending down on top of him, and once it's engulfed him, it embeds itself in the deck of the ship and turns solid.
Yeah, this is after Erin. She sort of pulls an anti-Maldis strategy.
Fire 2!
Fire 2, and she fires her Prowler's pulse cannon.
Oh, is that what happens? Okay, yeah, I didn't quite catch what was going on there.
It's pretty quick and chaotic. I love this effect of you've got a big green, gooey, smoky, solid
crystalline sphere. Yeah,
Veruca on Moya.
Oh.
I love it. It's just all this. I mean, it's probably relatively cheaply done. Some inflated dome with plastic on it, a couple of green lights, and some smoke around it.
It's like throw a few buckets of slime against it. And,
but man, it looks so cool, and it has an underside as well.
Yes, we see Rigel discovering when he's like moving through the corridor underneath Maintenance Bay 2. We don't have to wait very long for a resolve on it, though. The thing is putting an immense drain on Moya systems, and Pilot is very worried about it. Pilot does a lot of worrying in this episode, I noticed.
Oh, yeah. Pilot gets a lot of attention from the camera as well.
Yes.
The camera work in this episode was bananas. It was really fantastic.
Was it that one director again? Because I noticed, again, a lot of shots getting shot through stuff standing in front of it.
I think so. That's Andrew Prowse's signature. And certainly, like, when it starts off, it's like shooting John and Aaron through the slats of through the prongs. Actually, this is a new director, Catherine Millar. She's going to come back. This was her first shot. But so she brought some new energy strategy to Moya that we haven't seen before, certainly to Pilot, who gets like a fisheye GoPro up the nose shot a few times. Which
Not his best angle, but...
it conveys the stress.
I know, I get it, but it's like I said, it's like it wasn't a flattering angle. It was a great shot, but it's I wouldn't put that in my portfolio. I mean, you know what they say with Facebook, you shoot from above, not from below. Shooting from below makes you look weird.
Yeah.
And apparently this is true for aliens as well.
Oh my God, do you think he could do duck face?
No.
With a fully animatronic face like that, with those huge mobile lips?
I don't think he's got the lips for it. It's like...
Pilot's character design has been described by, I think it was Marshland Witch. She is on Twitter. She was an excellent observer of Farscape. That he has the eyes of a hare, which are sort of bug-eyed and kind of red around the edges as well.
I know what you mean.
And he has the sort of long facial silhouette of a horse, but still very, very soulful. You know, the way his cheeks move. But his mouth, I tried to look at that because he's got these weird sort of teeth and it's weirdly mobile. And the closest I could come up with was Baloo from Jungle Book.
Oh, okay.
He has that friendly sort of protruding mouth that's very expressive.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be particularly threatening or bitey when it comes to that sort of thing.
No.
Also, you can also easily outrun him, but that's not a thing entirely.
We've never seen him running in his native habitat.
He was just like sitting around a little bit when we saw him there. But yeah, we don't have to wait for a long-term scientific exploration or resolution, because very shortly after Moya's power systems peak, this ape-like creature gets ejected from the sphere and immediately goes scurrying off.
Our familiar John follows right on his heels.
Yes, he gets popped out.
Which order is it in?
First the primitive one comes out,
right.
Then a regular John comes out.
So that's a sort of Neanderthal-looking person, butt naked but hairy. So it's okay.
It's like he's got hairy naked pants on. Clearly, Dargo immediately goes off in pursuit of him,
while Aaron takes care of John, who is freezing.
Is that what's going on with him?
Yeah, that's why they wrap his blanket, wrap a brand new blanket that we've never seen before. A very fluffy, actually
maybe
warm
it's a
blanket.
Maybe it's a fresh skin flake.
Oh. Well, maybe this is her winter coat. Maybe she's got space, shedding season. That's also why John asks Tiana to go and get him some more clothes.
I could probably use some extra clothes.
I'll be 20 microns.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, yeah. Dargo runs into Tiana and tells her to stay put.
What's the phrase?
Keep your comms open and do not move until I say so.
It's like, when did that ever work?
Yeah.
What?
Just do what I say.
Also, really weird camera work. Like anytime so they're standing on opposite sides of a hallway, and the camera pans back and forth between them a few times. And every time it's on Dargo, it's extremely shaky, conveying his emotion, and then it goes back to Tiana, and then it's much calmer, sort of conveying she's not bothered.
No, that makes sense.
Dargo!
Just do it.
I also loved when Dargo first sees the Veruca. He goes, Whoa.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
He's such a surfer, bro.
He is completely. Zaan starts to do some investigation.
Yeah, this is her only useful contribution throughout this entire episode, is when she quickly sequences the DNA of the blood that they found.
She did that remarkably fast.
Hey, it's space technology.
No,
right?
I know, but I've completely analyzed the blood. Because, they found a blood smear, which was weird because John doesn't seem to be hurt.
John, where have you cut yourself?
I'm cut. I'm cut?
You're not cut.
So it must have been the other creature, but it has the same blood as John.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, here's the sequence that happened. Dargo walks in. He goes, whoa. It starts shaking. I think he pulls out his quilter blade. Mm-hmm. Then the Neanderthal gets flung at him. Must have cut himself on the quilter blade.
Oh, could have been, yeah. Or against any of the other sharp protrusions in the maintenance bay.
Such as Dargo's spike. Ugh.
Yes.
Don't love that. John tries to assure everyone that I'm fine.
No, I'm okay. I just need a gun.
Wait,
yes.
John
is being extremely American, yes. It's
Aaron, you got a gun.
John, please.
It's like, just give me a gun, I'll be fine.
Oh, the poor fella.
Tiana is the one who finds the missing creature, who tries to communicate with her.
Yes.
And she is remarkably, kind-hearted and susceptible, even though the fact that he holds her captive at first in the room.
He attacks her at first, yeah.
He throws her off, but she warms up to him pretty quickly once she discovers that he is trying to communicate to her that he is, in fact, John.
John!
I thought that this was great. Now, watching it again, I had some problems with the episode, namely that Okay, so I saw this in the preparation in the Uncharted Territories book, quoted that Claudia Black was not a fan of how her character was dumbed down. In fact, how most of the characters were sort of dumbed down, because they should have. They know John,
Right.
They have insights that none of them share or use. They're fairly one-dimensional. In her case, she's a protector and she's a guardian and she's a warrior, and that's about it. Her intimate knowledge of John doesn't really come to the fore.
Yes, I understand that. However, I do believe that was done in order to make this episode about John's, maybe discovery about himself, because that's really what it's all about, especially towards the end.
Oh, that's a very good point. And Chiana.
Yes.
Chiana is absolutely amazing in this one, because it's something that I've noticed before. She responds really well to people who are emotionally honest.
Yes.
And really poorly to people who are not.
Yeah.
So, encountering this Neanderthal version who is extremely emotionally honest, she can relate to that. Here is just someone who is acting panicked because he's panicked. That's not a problem. That's not something to be scared of.
No, and it doesn't mean he's dangerous or aggressive. It's just he's in emotional distress. I guess that's why that Chiana gets along with Rigel relatively well.
Oh, good point.
Because Rigel wears his emotions on the sleeve.
It's always the same one.
Yes,
it's always the same. Yeah.
But
they're not very long sleeves. He doesn't keep anything up them.
He's got stubby little arms.
He's such a twit this episode. He's just utterly uselessly just wandering by, disapproving of everyone and just antagonizing.
I was so disappointed that he didn't get the money shot in when he... Well, okay, so there's later on there's a scene where Chiana and Rigel are having a conversation, and Rigel has one of the injector pipettes or whatever they are, and he's gone the first John I'm going to encounter gets this in the butt. And I was so hoping that there was literally going to be a show-off scene between John and that it would almost at the time that the need is highest, that it seems despair, that suddenly there's and the right or the wrong one, depending on how you look at it, suddenly goes keeling over, and you see there's a very smug Rigel sitting there in his throne sled holding the
yeah. No, it's a real shame. He got nothing to do other than just poking every bear that he can find. He's being a real menace.
As long as the bear's called John, then yes. I understand why it didn't happen, because that wouldn't have allowed for the emotional resolve that this episode gets.
Yes.
But, then the dilemma that it presents would not be resolved. It would it would be circumvented.
Let's try that thing where we talk about, the plot of the episode and then break it down by scene, because I think the plot of the episode is fairly straightforward.
Oh, yes.
So what transpires is that this Neanderthal figure is actually another version of John Crichton.
Yes.
Also played by Ben Browder, with really bad teeth and a muscle suit and a fursuit over top. Mm-hmm. And then shortly thereafter, another John gets flung out.
Which is the high forehead, brain wrinkles on the outside of the scalp.
So cool. For some reason, he talks like Bill Clinton.
I understand that, but we're going to analyze it again. When you're ready, pilot.
Kind of like he was trying to do a different American accent, although I think part of it was due to the prosthetic teeth that he was wearing.
Yes.
Because he's also wearing different teeth, and you could hear it almost giving a little bit of a lisp.
Yep.
And he tried to work that into an accent, I suppose.
Yes, it was an observation by Ben Browder that when he looked at the script, he saw that there's a lot of times when either John or the future version are on comms with each other, and you had to have some way to tell them apart.
Right, so they'd had to have different accents, or at least different speech patterns.
And usually when you portray a hyper-intelligent character on American television, you give them a British accent, and they start speaking round and forward.
Yes.
And he wanted to sort of buck that trend. He suggested that the future version should be a dark-skinned character.
Yeah.
With the idea of, genetic blending and evolution and the reinstatement of all those, what are they called again? What's your pigment stuff called again?
Oh,
melanocytes. That's what they are.
Yes,
they make that stuff. And an afro and everything, and then that did not go ahead. Obviously, blackface is not cool.
It's a good point there, yeah.
It was a good thought,
They should have sent him to the beach for a few weeks to get a good tan.
Oh.
I mean, it's Australia.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too hard.
Ben Browder was like an avid outdoorsman and surfer, trying to keep him inside and off the beach when he get to Australia. Hey, I have a question for you. This is a challenging question. So we need to tell these dudes apart. And I could go the boring route and tell you what they were named in the script, which I will do if we need to.
Okay.
But I wonder if you have any of your fun nicknames for them.
Okay, so, I mean, the boring thing would be to go with past John, regular John, and future John.
Exactly, that's boring. We're not doing that one. That's nil point.
I'm thinking Cave John, and I don't know. I want to go Vulcan John, but he's like, because he does the whole, I'm superior intellect, I'm superior logic thing, and you know that this is the right conclusion, and he's a complete arse about it. I mean, it's kill all humans, John, because he's got that.
Yeah, he's the ultimate realpolitik practitioner here,
right.
even more so than Dargo usually.
Or at least he fancies himself like that.
So I had a suggestion, which I'm not sure is going to land, and that's to have John is John.
Yeah.
And then the advanced future version is
John.
Is more Texan. So I thought a name like Jacob would suit him better.
Oh.
And then the Neanderthal version, Neanderthal is in Germany, so Jingleheimer-Schmidt. And then you'd have John Jacob Jingleheimer-Schmidt.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
Oh, it's like a kid's camping song.
Sure, and don't expect me to remember it. But
Okay, well, I did not expect this to be the one. I thought it would just be a fun joke for some joyous friends, but yes. Okay, so we've got John
Jacob and Jingleheimer-Schmidt.
Jingleheimer-Schmidt, that's the one.
We might just make it Schmidt to make it easier.
Nope.
Okay.
The whole thing or not at all. Make your own. Yeah, that's the only thing. You'll get out of this if you come up with better names.
Okay. Down with that. So, Chiana, after befriending Jingleheimer-Schmidt, immediately takes him to Maintenance Bay 2, or Control Command, I'm not sure which one it is, where she
since when did they have a second Maintenance Bay? I know, I'm sorry.
I guess they must have loads.
They've never talked about having one or two.
Didn't one of them get blown up a while ago? It's like there was the explosions in Darker Returns, I suppose.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
So there was it was easy to start using the other one. And this is the scene where Zahn is angrily holding the injector pipette.
Yeah. She's quiet in the background. She's not involved in any of this. She's done all the tests and just see what's going on.
But she's got this steely look in it. She's holding it like she's like Brutus about to say hi to Brother Julius on the Ides of March,
Yeah, because there's a conflict between Jingleheimer-Schmidt and John. In the original script, they were called Neandro and Futuro, but
yeah, okay. That sounds more like a Disney park thing if you call them that,
Because Jingleheimer-Schmidt believes that he is John.
Yes.
As does John, and John is incredibly belligerent about this.
I can see a resemblance to you, Crichton.
Well, it's enough to make him think he's you.
Oh, please. This is not me. This is some kind of clone or something gone wrong. It's got my blood. My DNA.
Incredibly upset. He's still reeling a little bit, but this is coming from much deeper. Like Chiana says, he has your memories. John says, half the freaking quadrant has my memories.
Yes, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the digital security on Garnak base isn't that bad, but...
Right. I guess he felt it was a violation. Oh, we've got to stick to the plot.
No,
okay.
It is. I mean, I can see that. I'd be upset if someone identical to me not identical, but with my set of memories shows up, and then you go okay, so right up until this point we were the same person, and now we are different people.
Which is articulated by Jacob,
yes,
who has a bigger brain and thinks faster and is able to articulate all this clearly. I perceive myself to be John up until... And they are virtually indistinguishable, except he has Hollywood teeth and he has his brain on the outside.
And he does look pretty good in that red jacket.
But apparently he doesn't stuff it nearly as well as the regular John does, because Erin observes John has more hair and...
Amongst other things.
Or are you blaming that on the cold?
Yeah. And apparently she even told Dargo, because he quips about it as well.
There are some physical differences.
Just some.
I suppose,
more or less.
Sense.
Erin and Dargo give each other a glance when they're imprisoning Jacob, and it's like they're high-fiving with their eyes. It's fantastic.
Yes, because Jingleheimer-Schmidt and Jacob are both put in the brig, or at least in secure quarters.
Yes.
Just to keep them out of the way. There's a long discussion between Jacob and John where... Jacob is doing the I'm so superior thing without actually coming out and saying that.
Yeah.
But another emergency arrives because the sphere is suddenly starting to draw power again, and it's severely disturbing Moya systems.
Yep, something needs to be done to prevent this because the damage will be too great otherwise. Jacob tries to convince Erin to let him out because he has an idea, and it involves the defense screen.
Tell them to use the defense screen.
The defense screen. What?
The defense defense screen.
The defense screen.
The defense screen.
The defense screen deflects energy, right? The defense screen was not made for this.
You have to use the defense screen to counteract
The pull of the dimensional hole. Man, I hope we're both right.
It's the defense screen.
And after convincing her to at least share this idea, she contacts John, who's on the command, who's already working on the defense screen.
Just had exactly the same idea.
So that alleviates some of her doubt.
The idea is to use the defense screen to
isolate.
Yeah, the sphere is like going to create a wormhole or at least some sort of dimensional rift.
Yeah,
and
this is the Star Trek.
Yeah, and they want to use
they
want to reverse the polarity on the main deflector dish.
On the neutron flow.
to reflect the signal back towards the sphere so that it can't create the field that will suck Moya and everybody on her into another dimension. How they know it's going to another dimension, I have no frigging clue.
Hey, pilot knows about dimensions, I guess.
I suppose, yeah.
Do you know the mathematical hypothesis? Dimensional schism.
I mean, Moya's travelled between dimensions before.
Yeah, I mean, we had that when she got split into 3, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
No, actually, she was
Through
stuck.
the looking
Yeah,
glass.
she was stuck in Starburst at that point.
Starburst is technically the seam between space-time dimensions.
Which is not how dimensions work, but hey, this is another thing that I really like. This thing, the way that it sort of entered Moya and plopped her like a puddle and started messing with everything. Like, it so defies our concept of, our scientific reality or what objects are supposed to be able to do and interact with each other. I love it.
I mean, it could just be like a fourth dimensional thing.
Exactly.
It can just move through these things because it decides to do so. Jacob realizes that running the shields at full power isn't going to work, and he tells John to reduce them to 85%.
Has to be synchronized. John
agrees.
Decides to last minute agree, shift them down. We get the shot up the nose of Pilot. I love this image of him. Also, by the way, Jacob looks good in that captain's uniform, doesn't
Yes.
he? Woo.
Although, like you said, he doesn't pad it quite so well.
A good bit of symmetry, or I guess symbolism there, because Jingleheimer-Schmidt wears his old IASA uniform.
Yes.
He's got his current, grungy, Uncharted Territories leathers.
And Jacob is wearing the fascist PK Tech uniform.
Greasy and buttoned up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody thought about that.
Turning on the shield buys them 3 to 4 hours of time.
Yeah, the crisis countdown went up and down all the time.
And Jacob does a little very condescending breakdowns like, it's 4 hours and it's probably more like 3 hours and blah, 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 blah. I'm so superior and my logic is more superior to your logic or something like that.
Hey, at that point, I was actually on Jacob's side. When they say 4 hours at the most, plan for 3 hours.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah.
That's smart.
It is. That's the thing. It goes very well. In the beginning of the episode, he's very reasonable and he's got good ideas and he comes with them quickly, and later on as the episode progresses the rough edges of those logical conclusions are starting to show.
Yeah, he's a bit of a sea lion. I've met some people just like that on the internet.
Debate me.
Yeah, no, be worthy of it first. I mean, that's kind of Jacob's attitude when he goes to visit Jingleheimer-Schmidt in the cell with Chiana. He does not even deign to speak to this
no, he's just like, it's like
version of him. He's utterly disdainful, and this is where I sort of flipped on Jacob.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I can imagine if he's that smart and also empathetic, that's great. But he is a supremacist.
Yeah, he's a psychopath. Sociopath, sorry.
That's the one.
Yeah.
The next bit of technobabble involves figuring out or analyzing this signal. Now that Jacob is free, he can insist on performing another analysis of this signal and tune it down and take out the third and fifth harmonic. And then we get this really cool sound effect. And the 3 Crichtons, the 3 Caballeros, all get little headaches as these weird voices.
Yes, because the thing is putting out signal, and John has analyzed them several times and Pilot's analyzed them, and Jacob goes like, but my analysis is superior. And he just
It's not quite that bad.
Filter out the third and the fourth harmonics, and then suddenly it starts making sense. Although not everybody can hear it, apparently. There's a little bit of can't you hear that? You can hear that? What are you hearing?
So it's for the 3 Johns, and it's specifically this voice that they hear says that it is
translating to the alien brainwave pattern.
So having sampled John and done whatever it's done, it can attune its signal into their brains, essentially. Now, I am not sure who does the voice for this, but I'm willing to bet some points, some of my Farscape fun bucks, that it was Lani Tupu.
Internal repairs have been completed. We do not wish to harm you.
Oh, that seems to make sense.
I'm going to do some research into that.
Yeah, it makes sense to have already have a person on board as a voice actor. Just can you throw a voice out for this? Yeah, it's basically some alien strong arming, because the sphere is saying oh yeah, we took this sample, but our sample return ship is not going to return without the sample. So either you put the sample back in the sample return ship, or we will take everything around us and probably kill you in the process.
Within a metra. Yeah, that's some hardcore science.
That's just basically alien bullying. It's they're going yeah, we want the sample, we're going to get it, and you're either going to give it to us or we'll just grab whatever we can.
I wonder what the original intended function was supposed to be. Whether it was supposed to, spit out John and just keep its copies.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we don't know. Apparently, the conclusion they draw is that, why did it go for John is because these aliens probably had the opportunity to sample everybody else. Although if you're an interdimensional alien, then I suppose you could check out different parts of the galaxy as well. That shouldn't really be a big problem.
I mean, you probably find Delvians and Luxons. Throughout the uncharted territories, we found people who recognize these species, so they must have seen them before. So they must have diasporaed across a huge swath of the universe.
But if you're not limited to your own dimension, then you're not really limited by one particular galaxy either.
No, I get that. But it's just, if you take a random sampling from anywhere in the galaxy, the odds that sample is going to include a Delvian is higher than a human, because humans only exist on one planet.
No, okay, good point.
Is what I think, but I don't know.
I hadn't considered that.
So Jacob is pretty quick on the draw and decide one of the versions has to be sent back. Yeah, and that's going to have to be Jingleheimer-Schmidt.
Yes, because he's the most expendable one, I suppose.
That was
the
a
way
horrible
he calls
thing
it.
to say.
Well,
no, of him.
Oh, right.
Of Jacob. That was a horrible thing of Jacob to say. And Crichton is convinced of this. He's reluctantly.
He has some objections to it, but he realizes that, it's if it has to come to one of the three of them, then who's the one who's going to be the least contributing to everything? Yeah. This comes back to bite him a little bit later,
and rightly so.
And this is what I mean when this episode I think is about John's discovery of John, because everything is echoed back through all the decisions that he makes. Because at first he makes this decision and he agrees with Jacob that Jingleheimer-Schmidt is the one to each go. Then later on in the episode, towards the end, when Treaty of Mintaka 3 here, Chiana releases Jingleheimer-Schmidt, who goes hiding. John finds him, also lets him go at this point, and then goes off to face off with Jacob. And at that point, he actually comes to the agreement that there's a whole scene where they're stalking around each other, and he's climbing through the rafters.
I thought that was so great. He's climbing like he did when Dargo had his Luxon hyper rage.
Oh, yes.
He had to climb behind the.
You hide very well. You must have had a lot of practice.
Shut up.
Yes. He actually knocks Jacob's weapon out of his hand, and then there's a little bit of a weird punch-up, and he decides, okay, no, you're right, I'm the one who should go.
Bet you didn't guess that move.
He'd already intended to sacrifice himself. He didn't come down there for Jacob. He was going to do it himself because that's the right thing to do.
That gets superseded by Jingleheimer-Schmidt jumping on top of Jacob, knocking him out, and then deciding, okay, no, and now I'm going to have to do it. And that's where the interesting part comes, is that John has a problem with letting Jingleheimer-Schmidt take himself and Jacob back into the sphere, whereas Jacob had no problem with letting John making John do it.
Yeah,
and we see the empathy and
yes, you're right. There's great resolution to this. At the come down, John is still sort of racked with guilt, and he's told,
"You did what you thought was right, John."
Yeah,
and he responds,
"And I did what I knew was wrong."
He knew it was wrong, and he did it anyway. Yeah. He allowed himself to be convinced, and I thought that I can really relate to that.
Right, yeah.
And also, there is a running theme of facing reality. That's something that Jacob kept insisting. You have to face reality.
I'm going to face reality. You couldn't face reality.
If you don't start facing reality soon, I'm going to face it for you.
Face reality. We were saving ourselves at someone else's expense.
And you have a limited perspective.
But that was to me, that sounded very much like, someone who is trying to convince you have to face reality. This is the only option. When in fact, no, this is the only option that you're presenting.
Because in the end, Jingleheimer-Schmidt said that he accepted his fate.
Yes.
My fate, I accept.
not facing reality, accepting his fate, and that was right. Because this is John's place and John's time, and not Jacob's or Jingleheimer-Schmidt's.
No, that's a very good point. And now it turns back to what you were saying, because there's a whole thing with Chiana and Jingleheimer-Schmidt, and it's Chiana who is the one who's most against
she releases
John
him
and Jacob.
For that exact reason. You don't get to just decide that someone is disposable.
They get to the point where, okay, we're running out of time, the screen's going to collapse, the thing's going to destroy Moya, or at least suck her with her to another dimension. We won't want that. John is convinced by Jacob to go ahead and sacrifice Jingleheimer-Schmidt, and when they come pick him up, Chiana is the only one left in the cell, and I let him go.
Yep.
Because it's not your call.
Up yours.
Yeah.
Look, just because the Sphere wants a Crichton, it doesn't mean it has to be you, okay?
Well, be me. Who else?
What about the guy with the big head? Hey, you got just as much right to be here as he does.
God, how would things have turned out if Jacob had stayed aboard?
Oh, it would have been like, I don't know, maybe like Romulans aboard the original Star Trek. I mean, I got a lot of Vulcan-Romulan vibes from Jacob. You know, the whole...
Well, okay, but they're not usually to the detriment of the crew historically in Star Trek. Anytime you have a prickly Vulcan on board, you're generally glad to have them there by the end of the season.
But this is also addressed. This is discussed between John and Jacob. He's doing the stalking around, and he goes like, "Oh, you think you're going to be part of the crew? Oh no, you're not going to," because he because John realizes that the rest of the crew like him.
Yeah,
and he's starting to see that Jacob is a bit of a prick.
Jacob realizes it too. He's just like, I can never be me while you're around.
And that's the only way that he can take that role, or at least become that part, if John is actually not there anymore. And
he's especially murderous there.
He's counting on the fact that eventually they'll forget about what John used to be like.
Yeah, I guess he's so enamored with his new big brain, which I can understand how great that must feel.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing, Zan, what's happened to me. Virtually without even trying, I'm beginning to understand concepts that I've been thinking about for months. Years.
That he sort of underestimates everybody else and can't really model how they will feel and evolve.
Or at least he thinks he can predict what they'll do, but that's entirely based on logic, I suppose, or his perceived superior intellect.
Hey, have we just made it through the whole episode?
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of things to discuss about it, I would say.
Definitely. So I think now we're going to dive into an hour and a half talking about Willies and Woodies.
Sure.
Actually, let me see. What did we skip over and miss?
Well, let's finish it off first properly.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right.
Because Jingleheimer-Schmidt, after knocking Jacob out, I can't believe I can remember these names.
I know. I thought that this was just... Also, I kind of regret giving him such a... Because he's such a sympathetic character. And I shed a tear for Jingleheimer-Schmidt. Now we just both have to say that. But I'm very impressed that.
But yes, he knocks Jacob out like
dead.
Dead? Oh, was he dead? Oh.
Yes, John feels his pulse.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah, good.
Throws him in the fireman's carry.
Butt shots.
And he carries him off into the sphere, which then does its thing. It flashes, it disappears.
Liquefies and vanishes.
It goes back energy.
Yes, that's right.
It turns back into that small little energy sphere that was floating around at first.
Buzzing. It's so cool. Kay. I really like this effect. I'm just crazy for it.
It was a very pretty effect, I'll give you that.
And all's well that ends well.
Although there's like a little bit of discussion between Dargo and John and Chiana, especially the latter.
Chiana comes and visits John while he's struggling with his guilt, as I mentioned earlier, that she assures him that he did what he thought he had to do and he knows better. But he got there in the end. He needed a little help.
You really offered to take the dive?
It took me a while, and I needed some help.
That's what he credits her with. She's the one who helped him to realize that he was not being true to himself. And I really like your observation that the story is about John's self-discovery. It wasn't something that I was conscious of at the time, but you're absolutely right. Because I'm thinking of an earlier scene, the first time that there's a real confrontation between Jacob and John, and Jacob says...
You're losing perspective.
Yeah. And John says...
No, I am widening my perspective. That is what I do. That's what makes me me.
Damn right, John. Yes, that is exactly what you've been doing since episode 1. You've been widening your perspective, and it's always the right answer.
And that's what the thing with Chiana is about, is the three Johns that we have are basically two of his aspects. His
Dial 211,
his emotional aspect and his scientific, intellectual aspect, and the real John being there sitting in the middle. And Chiana turns out to be the thing that she apparently really likes about John is the emotional aspect of him.
Yeah, that he's warm and
caring,
sensitive.
He's everything I ever liked about you.
Okay, the other thing that we can draw from this is that apparently nobody likes the scientific aspect of John, which is totally not true.
Nobody likes his brain. Oh, it's a shame they didn't ask Zan who she liked better. Like, this would have been if you got the rest, if we'd had a little bit less of the Treknobabble and a little bit more of, like, character interactions and like, really dealing with, because each of these Johns can be John.
Yes.
Right? They all have the same memories up until the point of divergence. Each of these could be accepted by the crew if they wanted to, and it would be their John.
Yeah, so we've skipped the entire scene where there's like the technobabble like fidgeting with the power conduits to the defense screen, and it's
that.
really not.
It does have that one moment where while Dargo really cares about the defense screen, he's working on it, tries to convince John that Jingleheimer-Schmidt needs to be sacrificed. This is where Dargo gives the eye roll when John gives an unconvincing counter-argument.
Anthony Simcoe, he does the best eye roll there is. He's just like, he's got those beautiful white eyes for it too, and it's just like
gorgeous.
Whenever he does that, he does it so theatrically. I'm
so glad they got rid of the green contact lenses. There's also a scene later on where Dargo is in the neuro cluster and talking over the comms with John. And first of all, you see him like very Dr. Phil, very Oprah, like holding out his hands reasonably. John, I respect your position. I understand. I will be there for you. But if you don't start facing reality soon, I will face it freaking for you.
Right. And this is like really showcasing how their relationship has developed over time, with Dargo respecting John much more than he did in the beginning. At the beginning, he didn't respect John at all, but like now they're on par with each other, and they know and he will put his foot down when you realize that, okay, now you're going too far, like someone will have to make this choice, and if you don't make it, I will do it for you, because this is about all of us, not just about you. And I understand that you're bearing the most of the emotional response for this, but
John does it right back. Like, he has enough of a, like, is this who we are now? Is this what we do now? And it's kind of fair, because they have in the past already decided that they would rather face extraordinary risks than sacrifice someone else. In the case of, for example, Talon or Moya herself.
No, very much so. Whereas Sleazeback John, or Jacob as we're calling him now, would gladly sacrifice anybody as long as it's not him. So you've got the skull wrinkles, or the brain wrinkles in his skull.
Yeah.
But his forehead's always shiny.
It's so wet.
He's a little bit slimy and greasy. Yeah, it's like, what's that character from Orgasmo, the guy who plays...
I did not expect you to go there. I'm leaving in your little sound effect, by the way. Like, I am now just realizing that I could have named them like John and then Jacob, because it's an ancestral name, and then the loser could be Jingleheimer-Schmidt, and we wouldn't feel so bad about him dying. Now, if he
fair point.
It was called Jingleheimer. Well, Tiny Jingles. Little Heimer-Schmidt. No.
Oh dear.
No. Okay.
PG-13 podcast.
You were right. Put it in.
It's such a struggle, though, because wow. That stunt butt.
Yeah. Okay, so Willies and Woodies.
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the willies.
You said you had a lot of them. I've got one or two, but they're fairly technical, all of them.
Okay, so my Willy is sort of globally, this episode or this story had so many places to go that if it had committed a little bit more to like the Farscape ethos of the heart over the head.
I mean, that would it amounted to that in the end.
Well, it's a very philosophical story about like self-discovery and via how other people see you. But like Dargo never picks a favorite, and Aaron doesn't either, and Zan doesn't either. And that would have been a really interesting way for all of them to get to reflect. And Rigel
picks whoever he runs into first.
The first Crichton I see gets this in the back of his head.
Whichever is the first Crichton I find, I will butt shot
him with this injector, and he's going into the sphere, and I don't care.
So that one at least is true.
But again, that's true to Rigel's nature.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of wish that we'd had that for Dargo and Zan, and maybe a little bit less of the Technobabble. But that's my only willy for my Woodies. Gosh, well, it's the music, it's the energy ball effect, it's the green Veruca. I really liked John in that captain's uniform.
I can imagine that. Yes.
It's fascist fashion, but man, those lines. Do you notice that he knocked out Aaron with a Pentac jab?
No, a Pentac jab.
Yes. I guess that's his superior intellect again, knowing exactly where to strike a Sebastian to knock her out.
Wow, that's savage to bring that back to her.
Yeah. Which we don't see much of her after that point in the episode, do we?
Oh, no, she's knocked out.
Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't actually come back, you're right.
No, I don't think so. So my willy would go to the overuse of gratuitous slow motion. Because there is so much bad slow motion shots in this episode.
I agree. This is a little pet peeve of mine whenever regular 25 FPS footage is artificially slowed down. Well, there were 2 cases where it wasn't bad slow-mo, where it was a deliberate alteration to the shutter angle of the camera.
Right.
That's okay if you want to do that as a style, but it's also kind of
very
weird.
much 90s slow motion TV.
It's usually an effect where they get the dailies, and this is not quite as energetic or as cool, or it goes by too fast. And okay, we'll just slow it down now, even though we can't refilm it with a slow motion camera like you actually ought to.
Yes, that makes sense. Other than that, I noticed, and I guess that might be a Woody, although it's a bit weak for that. It's there's lots of shots where there's sparks and sparkles going off in the background, especially in the scene.
Yeah,
you can see they must have gone overboard on the pyrotechnics in this episode, because there's
a little bit of bloom.
But they're coming down in sparkles in the background all of the time. So there must have been either someone striking magnesium bars against things, or some sort of other form of
it's
pyrotechnics,
all over the place,
especially around the shield generator or whatever they call it,
the defense
screen.
The defense screen.
That's the one.
How safe is that stuff? Those sparks coming down in the background.
They call it coal. In Dutch, we call it coal fire, but it's not coal at all. It just burns out very quickly.
You wouldn't want it on your skin.
It's only going to leave a tiny prick because it has almost no mass to it, and it's the same problem.
It's
the same thing when you have aluminum foil in the oven. You can just take it out. You can just reach in, grab the aluminum foil, and pull it out, because it's still 200 degrees, but it's so thin it has almost no thermal capacity.
Right.
So you can just pick it up and pull it out, and it's no problem at all.
Hey, so we did get our little scientific aside.
There you go. Yeah. And the same goes with that fire. It's 1,200 degrees because it's burning white.
Right.
But it's only such a tiny little spark. It has almost no energy.
Wow.
So it might leave a tiny little, not even a burn. It's you might feel it, but that's probably it. It's not even going to leave a blister.
I guess another willy is it doesn't really advance the relationships. So do you know how Dargo and Chiana had a little fight? We saw them coming together very recently,
right? But
that doesn't seem to be evolving here.
No, but Chiana seems to be much more into John in this episode,
or various aspects of John.
Yes.
Yes, there is maybe a reason for that.
Yeah.
This episode was aired as episode 214 in some territories. It was filmed after episode 213. And it wasn't sure what the order was going to be. So I guess that's why it was such a bottle episode, so they could move around the schedule a little bit.
Throw it around where we need it. Yeah.
Still no idea exactly why that was. But man, I loved it. Okay, one more Woody, the camera work throughout this. Catherine Millar.
Absolutely.
I had no idea that she brought this, but I'm really excited. She did 2 more episodes. One of them's coming up pretty soon. So I'm really excited to see those 2.
Yeah. I mean, it was stunningly filmed, other than the gratuitous slow-mo.
Yes, but instead we did get the GoPro up nose for Pilot.
Yes.
And
Pilot selfie cam.
And that's the story so far, Farscape.
We'll see you next week with episode 211. A Kiss is But a Kiss. Look at the Princess. Part 1. Ooh, we're getting a double 2-parter.
Ooh.
In which, as Billy Roberts says, what will our heroes do when one of their own swaps spit with a local and now must stay on the planet forever? Also, Cupid has struck on Moya.
Oh, when the moon hits your eye like the big pizza pie, that's amore. I'm going to have to teach you some John Jacob Jingleheimer-Schmidt next. Oh, and speaking of bonus content, we have officially started our Patreon. You can find us on patreon.com/SoFarscape. We put a bunch of tiers up there. They all get the same bonuses. Like, if you just want to chip in $1 a month, we'd really appreciate it. It goes toward hosting, and if there's anything left over, However, we solemnly promise, we will spend it on absolute nonsense. We'll find some stupid toys or whatever. It'll be ridiculous.
Yes, you can hear it. You can listen to us playing with Farscape toys.
For the contributors, we've got some fun bonus material. I'm posting the GIF packs for my favorite GIFs from these episodes, and we've started recording some fan fiction.
So you might be able to listen to us read original Farscape fan fiction.
But hey, here's one thing that's really kind of important to us. We're not making fun of the fan fiction. Like, this was written in good faith, often by young people. Like, we're going to have some fun with it, but I particularly love that this is something that you can do, Kate. Like, you can actually go on fanfic, the sites wherever, and just find fan fiction that was published in 1999 because they had not seen any of the later.
Anything they're saying is what they're guessing
and
guessing. Yes, it is. I just have to make sure that the original publication date is not past anything that I've seen before on Farscape.
And thank you again to the early birds, Wookie Titty. Yes, we'll say your full name now. You've certainly earned it. Tonks and Crimson and Lee. It means so much to us to have your support, but we've also been absolutely floored by the number of people who signed up to the Patreon that we've never heard of before.
We can only assume that you must be listeners who enjoy our show, and thank you so much. Olivia and Hank.
Brian and Jerry, thank you.
And last but not least, Icarus.
And Vixie, the most recent. Yeah, like, you guys, this is amazing. We're actually like covering most of our hosting and the software bills, and it's only been 1 week. So thank you once again.
We're completely blown away, and if there's any money left over, we promise it to spend it on absolutely ridiculous shit.
Terribly stupid, absolutely unwise. We're not going to use it for anything useful at all. But once again, that's patreon.com/SoFarscape. Thank you so much if you want to chip in a bit. You can find us at SoFarscape on Facebook and Twitter, and on SoFarscape.com. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.